All right. Welcome everyone to a very special session of Coaching Cafe with Danny and friends. And this week and past couple of weeks, I've just been so blessed to partner with a number of amazing people. And today's guest is an extraordinary human being. He has had his own TED Talk that has over 3.4 million views. So that is pretty incredible by itself. But not only that, he is helping leaders, entrepreneurs, and new authors to really create global movements, to build strong personal brands, and he's the founder of Authors Who Lead, and that by itself should tell enough about what he's about. My special guest today is Azul Terronez. I hope I pronounced your name
Yeah,
correctly. And it's so
perfect.
awesome to have you here just to lead in this conversation. Um, we both serve entrepreneurs, right? Like you have been working with Grammy Award winners as well, I've seen. And one of the things that my audience is really keen to know is like there's so many hats that we are wearing, and then there's the additional hat of potentially becoming a best-selling author. To some people, that
Yeah.
feels a little bit overwhelming. So in this session, I would love your perspective about like what does it really take to build that book empire, and how have you done it, and what are some of the things that you could share with us.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Danny, for the warm introduction, and so glad to see so many beautiful faces here. Um, I'll start with this. So I spent 25 years as a teacher, a principal, in a classroom before I even started entrepreneur journey. So it was a really huge shift for me. That's a very old system, very bureaucratic, very little room for entrepreneurial thinking. So I was not really ready to be thrust into the world of working with anything online. I didn't even exactly know how I could do that. So to go from that kind of person who was already pretty far into his career, right? 25 years is a long time. And to have a lot of praise and accolades there, but feeling the draw to leave. The way I did that was writing a book in a field that wasn't necessarily someplace I felt comfortable. Maybe that's you. Maybe you're starting to teach things, you've have a business or you're growing a business, but you're like, I'm not sure I'm the expert here. Like I just barely know what I'm doing. How can I be an expert? Well, what I discovered is your expertise is valuable, but who you are as a human is even more valuable. Your unique perspective in the world. So I want to talk a little bit about that before I talk about the things that probably on your mind about writing a best-selling book, or how do you market a book, or what if my book's not selling? What if I don't want to feel like a sleazy salesman peddling my book? Like, how do I do that? Well, graciously, right? Because it's embarrassing. I feel uncomfortable. We're going to talk all about those things today, but I want to tell you what happened to me. So I tell people it took me 24 years and 30 days to write my first book. 24 years to start, stop, take a workshop, think about it, restart, buy a new journal, take another workshop, buy a software. Like I just kept, for some reason, I couldn't get it out of me. I had so many ideas, and I never knew that writer's block comes from having too many ideas, not too little. I always thought writer's block happens when you don't know what to say. And it's like I found I had too much to say. So I couldn't figure out my message. I didn't know what I was writing. I kept worrying about if it was any good. What if no one likes this? What if it's terrible? I don't want to find out this way. I'm a bad writer, right? All these things. So I was paralyzed. The reason I say 24 years and 30 days, it was when I figured out what was going on within me, what was holding me back, and what system I needed to create, that I was able to write that first book in 30 days. And that was magical because I couldn't figure out what was wrong until that time. When I went to an entrepreneur event with Pat Flynn, who is one of my mentors, who is the founder of Smart Passive Income podcast and blog, he I told him the story about like finally writing this book in 30 days and what it was about. It was about learning from others about the art of apprenticeship and building a relationship with somebody you admire so that they can serve as your mentor, but out of an act of service versus, hey, can you mentor me? So I wrote this book. I told them what I did in 30 days. Very few people really cared about the topic. They were all interested afterwards, like, wait, how did you do that in 30 days? Wait, tell me about that part. So my very first client was the person I was admiring, wanting to become a mentor. I had never met him a day in my life. I had only followed him and listened to him. And I found myself a month or two later becoming his book coach for his Wall Street Journal bestselling book, Will It Fly? How did that happen? I just showed up as myself. And the book I needed to write for me was the one that's important. Too many people try to write a book that's good for their business, and that's what gets them stuck. They start imitating other people. They start writing it like other people. They start thinking that to be an expert, they have to write it like this or be like this. And that's not what makes you unique. It certainly wasn't what made me unique. It was that I found something special. I want you to find that special thing within you if you're going to either write this book, market this book, or relaunch this book. Because what's missing is you, not the content, not the marketing strategy, not any of those things. And if you aren't aware of why you're unique, that's what I'd say you start with. That's how you start when you begin marketing. That's how you start when you're thinking of a new book idea or reorienting a book that's already out there. Let me give you an example and then I'm going to start doing teaching. Is this okay? Thumbs up. Is it okay so far? Okay, good. I want to make sure I'm not. Oh, look how cool that is. Uh, I come with props. Um, so most people miss the most amazing magic about themselves, right? I tell my clients, look, you can't read the label from inside of the bottle. Sometimes you don't realize you think you're a bottle of like uh cold duck. You remember that? It's a really terrible drink. I don't even know if it's really liquor. I don't know what it is, but it's a fake version of sparkling wine. But they think they're that, but really, if you look on the outside and see who they are, they're like this fine as champagne. They're Dom Perignon, but they think they're this cheap wine because they don't see themselves, right? We don't see ourselves the way the world sees us. So we try to imitate what we think we should be. When I was a kid, I was given a magnifying glass and a science kit. I got a microscope, which was awesome. And then I got this magnifying glass. The magnifying glass was great because I carried it around with me and take it outside and I could see things up close, which was really cool. But once I was outside, I realized that if I hold it the right distance away from something, the sun would ignite it. I could burn a leaf, my friend's leg, an ant, which I know I owe karma for somewhere cosmically. But the lesson that I learned was ordinary sunshine just warms your hand, right? I just put it out there, it's warm, it's nice, but it doesn't ignite, it doesn't burn. But if I take the lens and I hyper focus it on the exact spot, the same sunshine that warms your hand will ignite. Too many of us are worried about the content of our books, the content of our message. We think the content's the most important thing, to be unique, to have the original content. Well, I hate to tell you, there's nothing new under the sun. The sunshine that you shine on is the same sunshine that's shining over someone across the world in Malaysia or in Europe. It's the same sun. The content you have isn't the unique thing. So most people think I got to find something original. Well, there won't be anything original. The only thing that makes it unique is you. Stop focusing on the content, the thing, the sunshine you shine through it that you can't make better or different. Focus on the lens, and the lens is you. You're the lens. You're the lens that bends the light to ignite. It's not the content. It's not what you talk about. It's you. The more you get clear about why you're unique, the more impactful you'll be. The more the simple things, no matter what you pass through that lens, will ignite because it's you. Stop trying to create something for other people. Be yourself, and whatever you figure out, when you figure out your uniqueness, that's when marketing becomes effortless. That's when writing a book becomes powerful. That's when you no longer have to worry about being somebody else. You can be you. You could be a school teacher who doesn't know anything about entrepreneurship and show up to an event and walk away with a business you didn't even know you had because I was being myself in a unique way. I figured out this dyslexic kid who barely passed school, flunked freshman English at University of California, Los Angeles, had to go back into summer school, had no place being a teacher, probably became one of the most sought after book coaches, not because I know what I'm doing, but because I have a unique perspective that I'm looking for people's message more than I'm looking for their words. That makes me unique. If you have something special about you, don't move away from it, move towards it. Don't try to hide it to be like everyone else. Be you. There's parts of you that are so magnificent, but because it's your ordinary life, you don't think it's very, I don't know, something you can do. It's something you have. Oh, I'm a a black belt in Taekwondo, or I don't know enough about these things. I'm a baker. I've won contests as a kid. I'm the oldest of a family of 10, or I'm the youngest. It doesn't matter what, but as soon as you start to realize how unique you are, that you're the only person on this planet in the entire universe like you start to realize, oh my gosh, I'm amazing. I am so unique. But if you think you're somebody else, marketing a book is you're going to constantly hide because you're not good as everyone else. Yes, you are. You're better. You're the only one of you. You're the best version of you. You don't have to worry about it. So there's my small mini podcast preaching there for a minute, but I just want to encourage you, inspire you, give you confidence that the world needs you. The world is looking for you. They just don't know you. And you're hiding behind your content because you think that that's more valuable. We don't need more information. We're drowning in information. You think ChatGPT is not going to take away you? That's a tool. Don't worry about that. You be you, and you'll start to shine in ways you never knew. So let's move this into book marketing. Maybe this will help you with your book idea or wonder why you can't write. This is not for teaching you how to write. I'm trying to inspire you to see yourself so you can do all the things you need to do with ease, right? So the first thing I want to say is, how do I market a book with, and I don't want to be sleazy with doing it, getting my message out there because I feel, ugh. Do you get cringy when you send something to your email list? Do you feel cringy because you don't want to start one because you're on somebody's list and it feels terrible? Are you feeling like, I don't want to be like that? I feel comfortable being in the spotlight. Well, guess what? There's no opportunity for you to shine if you can't be there, but you don't have to do it the way everyone else does, right? You don't have to be an Alex Hermosi. You don't have to be all these big people who have these big brands. That's a lot of posturing for me, but you can be you, right? So if you want to be market a book, let's imagine two scenarios. One, I have a book out, it's not doing well. And I want to know, how do I market a book before I write one? That's probably a lot of you. Like, I don't want to write if I don't know what I'm doing. That's how I was too. First thing you need to realize that getting attention, if you don't have it now, let's imagine you have zero attention. Like, you don't have followers, you don't have an Instagram followers, you don't have an email list. The best thing you can do is start to show up and share that you're actually thinking about writing a book. Not even that I'm writing one. I'm kind of thinking about writing a book, and see what happens. Well, people want to say, well, what about? And then you got to say, well, I'm thinking about this. And then just show up, because the runway you need to build to take off when the book's ready is very long. I don't know the exact statistic, but I think 80% of a rocket or airplane's fuel for its trip is expended on the takeoff. Once it gets up up a certain level, it just moves. But it's the launch that's takes all the energy. But also, to get, the bigger the project, the bigger the thing, takes a longer runway. And people try to launch with a really short runway, and then it just goes off the cliff and they wonder what happened. Well, it's not your effort. It's not your book. It's you didn't give yourself a long enough runway. And then you didn't give yourself enough fuel to sustain it, and you burn out and you never take off. You burn out on the runway. All those things you can solve without worrying about being public or out there. You can start doing it smaller steps, right? Build the runway before you start writing, before there's a single word, before you even know what the name of the book is or what you're writing about. Why? Because you're getting people interested in you. Well, I was thinking about writing a book about this. Or guess what? I did research and I found that you can start to show the people that you're writing. Because that's a stone. Imagine they're large stones, but they're stones in the runway. I'm putting this down. And I need another stone. Well, you could share behind the scenes of your writing process. Well, for me, I was naive. I was foolish. So, but thank goodness for naivete and foolishness, because um, Richie Norton, one of my friends and authors, he wrote a book called The Art of Starting Something Stupid. He says only the greatest things that were started by people who think they're stupid ideas. Everyone else tells stupid. So don't worry that what you think your idea is good or bad. Start with the stupidest idea, because it's when you get over this feeling that I have to be right or good, it has to be a good idea, has to be the best book, that you start to hinder yourself from an opportunity. So one of the stones might be just sharing the process of writing. Hey, I'm thinking about writing, or I am writing, or I threw away 3 ideas today, or I started 6 new, whatever it is, because you're building a runway of attention. You're sharing with people who you are, why you're thinking this way. So you want to start marketing a book way before, but you don't have to call it marketing, right? I feel sleazy. It's hard for me. I wish I could say I love marketing, but you know what? just like some people, they don't, this thought of sales is like, ugh, sales calls. I want clients, but I don't want to sell, right? You got to think of sales as service. I'm serving these people. I'm helping them. I'm helping them to get to know me. I'm helping them to trust me. I'm helping them to discover what I'm thinking, like or dislike me. It's okay that they don't like you. It's not middle school, friends. It's okay they don't like you. In fact, you're better off if you rather than pretend to be somebody and then later on you tell them who you are and they go, oh God, I thought you were somebody else. It's okay for them to not like you. It's better for them and for you if they drift away when you start to share. You only want to attract the people you resonate with, right? You don't want to write to people you don't attract. If you start to write to those people because you care about what they think, they're going to come find you. They're not going to support you and inspire you and help you. They're going to attack you. So let those people go early. Start marketing earlier than you think. And marketing is just serving them this thing because everyone's curious about what I like. So what do you do, Azul? Like, what do you do? You're a writer. So what do you do all day? Like, what does it look like? I go, it looks like me avoiding writing and cleaning my junk drawer. That's what it looks like. And then the last hour where I had to write, I actually write, but that's what it looks like. It doesn't look magical. I'm not sitting in a cabin, right? I'm not, hearing waterfall. I've tried that. I'm telling you, I wish I could say going to a cabin in Vermont or out in you know, the forest and I'll just write and my novel or my book will come out. I've had people promise me that, my own clients, that, no, I'm going to go away for 30 days. I'll come back with a book. I said, are you dealing with the things we talked about? Uh, yeah, no, I'll deal with it there. They come back. Did you write? No. I'm like, see, we think we have this, like, there's this mysticism about it. It's not mystical. It's hard. It's different. It's within yourself. So marketing a book has got to be gentle because guess what? If you don't build a long enough runway, when you go to hit the gas, you're going to run out of it yourself and it's going to fall off the cliff, or you're going to hit the gas and it just has nowhere to go. So start early. If you're thinking about writing a book, start telling people, you're like, well, I don't want to tell people I'm not going to do it. That's another story you're telling yourself. So what if you don't do it? That's okay. You say, guess what? I thought I could do it. And now I'm starting. Stop. Get out of your head. Be right here. You can't, you can't ruin something if you're serving others. You're helping. You're helping yourself. You're helping your audience. So let marketing not be an act of doing. Let it be an act of service. And also start marketing anything way before you think you're ready. I don't know about you, but I avoid my marketing like the plague because I'm just like, oh, people think they're gonna think I'm selling things again, and I always have offers. And the last time it didn't work, and there's story making going on, right? So you want to let go of that story making early, and realize I can't be wrong being myself. So the more I'm myself, the easier marketing will become. Stop imitating all these people of what a good launch is. Just build a longer runway. My first book, what I did is because I was struggling so hard, as I said to myself, I'm going to record a 60-second video every day for 30 days because if I don't, I know I'm going to avoid this. So I just created a video saying, okay, day one, I'm writing a book today, you guys. I don't even know what it's about. The center of my visual map just says book. I'll let you know what comes of it tomorrow. And the next day, hey guys. And you know what? Ironically, people love that. I was fumbling around knowing nothing what I was doing. I told everybody, hey, I can't write on the computer, so I'm writing my entire book in my journal by hand. And they thought that was cool. Really? Well, then they had questions. Well, what are you going to do afterwards? Well, I guess I have to type it into the computer. So I started talking about that. And then I got really distracted at home. I had kids, I was a school teacher. I was teaching graduate school at night. I was driving Lyft, like Uber. I was busy and I barely had time. So in the house was just overwhelming. So I started going out of the house to cafes and I'd say, I'm at a cafe. And I would film a video. Then I started getting excited because people were like interested. Well, what cafe you were at? And I was like, why are these people, why do they care about this? But it was accountability for me. I started to sneak, don't judge me. I started to go into hotels with really nice swimming pools, not because I wanted to swim, but I thought it felt swanky. Like I'd go up to the pool bar, go, I'd like, I'd order some mocktail, really fancy mocktail, and I'd sit down and I'd write. Fulfill my writer fantasy. And really, I just snuck into the hotel and pretend they're like, what room? I said, oh, I'll pay cash. Um, but but then I would post it and people are like, oh my God, that's so funny. And what are you writing today? Well, I'm writing this today. Um, so I created a journey for them. By the time I got to the book and I started sharing what the book was about, because I didn't know what it was going to be about either. They're like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's me. Oh, what? I'm building a relationship with my audience because remember, I had zero audience and people weren't following me for my book. They were following me for me, who I was. They're curious about what is he going to say if this is what's going on. Halfway through, I lost the manuscript I was writing by hand. People were like, "Oh my gosh!" So I'm doing the video. Guess what, guys? I lost it today. No, not lost it. I mean, like, but lost it. I lost the manuscript. They're like, "Oh my gosh!" And they start giving ideas. Well, where were you last? Is it in the car? And actually, funny enough, someone said, "Look where the remote control and the socks go." I was like, "Oh my gosh, that is funny." But I did, and it was under the couch. I don't know how it got there. I don't even remember sitting on the couch with that. And I showed it, and they were so excited. They were cheering. By the time we got to like day 20, I said, "Hey, I'm going to create a community in Facebook so you guys can join me." And they're like, "Oh my God, I want to join. I want to write a book. I want to know." The runway got longer and longer. So by the time I was ready to hit launch, which was months and months later, people had been paying attention and listening. And I was able to launch that book to number one. And I remember I screenshotted the day it passed the 4 hour work week on number, above it. I was like, "That's a good day. I don't care if it's for an hour. I did it." I got 70 or 80 reviews on that book because I had to learn how to do that. But I had built a natural conversation with people. And so marketing, I didn't realize that was marketing. People were like, "Oh, that's a great marketing tool." I was like, "Oh, that was accountability." So I actually wouldn't give up. I didn't know that that was important. But what I realized is I'm being myself, and that's what creates the conversation. That's what made people want to talk to me, find out who I was. And that's where this whole business of being a book coach was born. And I want to tell you, there's things about what you're doing that you're trying to imitate and be somebody else that's making it difficult to show up every day. I want you to let go of that and realize that you don't have to be sleazy to market your book. You just have to build it earlier than you think, and then give yourself more time to market it afterwards. This is like birthing a baby, not launching a course. You're not trying to, yay, and then it's over. Yay, the first child birthday party. Can we give it up for adoption? No, you cannot. It's yours. It's forever. So your book, you have to pace yourself. Authors burn out from hearing their own message way before their audience because you keep saying, "Buy my book." Maybe you did that when you had launched a book. Stop telling that. You serve. Tell them about why you did it. Tell them about how it changed you. Give an example. Share a testimonial. Um, Give a tip. Say what you would write differently. Talk about the chapters that didn't make it. There's so many things you can do. And then later on, say, if that it strikes you, my book's on sale. But people basically burn out themselves, not their audience, because their audience didn't even know you said anything. 7 times it takes for them to even remember you have a book, and you give up too soon. So you got to give yourself more runway even after. So as it launches, you got to give yourself time to keep sharing the message and not burn out, because you're going to be exhausted when that book comes out. So you have to have a plan for breaks, plan for relaunching it, plan for giving it new life. And realize it's like a child. It's going to be with you for years. It doesn't go away. You can pull down a podcast. You can pull down a YouTube video. The book, once it's in the world, guess what? I might have one in my basement for 50 years. You may not. So you've got to realize you got to nurture this thing over time. And burning yourself out is the biggest problem I see. Now, I've talked a lot, Danny. I'm going to pause there because maybe this is more than, I don't know if it feels like a fire hose, drinking a fire hose, but I think we'll pause so we can have some comment from you, Danny, and see if I should keep going or if I should have some conversation.
Yeah, I think I speak for everyone that this is exceptional. It really makes me want to write my next book, or my first book, actually, I have to say. And I see a lot of love for you in the with our live guest, and there's a lot of people watching on the Global Coach Facebook group as well. So um, let's indeed have a little bit of a conversation, because you said so many
Sure.
precious things, and I've been making tons of notes along the way. One of the things that I'm really curious about, because you emphasized, and I love that message, that we all have a story, we all are unique, and we can all, you give ourselves permission to be ourselves, right? You give us permission to be ourselves, which is a beautiful message. So I guess my question, and it's something I'm hearing from my audience a lot, is there's people here that really ask themselves, like, yeah, but is my story really special? Because I have not had a dramatic abuse, or I have not had all these really huge setbacks that where I got out of. What would you say to someone who feels that way?
Yeah. I would say if you ask those people, let's say, imagine those people who we think they're special. They have a trauma they've overcome. They started from bankruptcy and soared to millions. If you think they have something special, what you're believing is that their hardship is better than yours. Their trauma is worse than yours. And people who have trauma don't even think they have trauma most of the time. They're like, I mean, it wasn't that bad. That's the sign of trauma. So just know that that's a masking tool to survive. But what I say about someone's uniqueness is your perspective in the world is more valuable than you think. Your perspective in the world is more valuable than you think. And most people, they get stuck in their mind. They think, but what is special about me? That's a great question. Keep asking it. Don't don't come to a conclusion. There is no conclusion to that question. It's an ongoing question. What is special about me? You should ask it today, tomorrow, tonight, when you meditate, because you weren't put on this planet for just I will say it, just to live and die. The chances of you being born are astronomically far away from anything that you might see possible. So you already won the lottery about possibilities.
Yeah.
So why am I unique is a great question to ask. I used to hide my dyslexia when I was a teacher because it feels shameful. I'm very well educated, I have more than enough advanced graduate degrees, but it didn't take away my dyslexia. So I would often prepare ahead of time. I'd have the agenda on the board before the students came in. And when I started teaching graduate school, oh my gosh, then I felt really nervous. Because I'm intelligent, I can speed read. I actually can read books in an hour or two that most people take a month to read. So I have a gift, but I didn't find that till later. But if you ask me to read out loud, I sound like a third grader because I miss words. They disappear from the page. I don't know what happens to them or why letters change, but it's just part of my neurodivergent mind. I used to hide that because I didn't want people, because it was a source of pain early on in my life because I couldn't read at third grade. I'd fake it. Like I said, I failed freshman English at UCLA. It wasn't my strong suit. So I just continued to hide. When I decided I'm going to tell my students about this, I'm no longer going to hide it. I'm dyslexic. The first day I put a check mark on the board. I said, this is my spell check. And I want to tell you this because I will write things on the board that aren't going to be spelled right. I might have spelled it right yesterday or even 10 minutes ago, and I might spell it wrong now. I might read words when I read books out loud to you that are wrong. They make sense, but they're not the ones on the page. That's my brain trying to solve a problem. I don't mind if you stop me, correct me. I don't mind if you come up and spell the word right or say, hey, can you spell this differently, more traditionally? Um, but when I did that for my students who were young, I think it empowered them to realize that how special I was to be vulnerable. And one student came back after he had already gotten to college, because I taught seventh grade, young kids, 13, 12 years old. Said, I want to tell you, I wrote my college essay about my struggle with my learning disability. And you inspired me not to hide from it, but to use it. And that's what I think got me into college. And I'm in the college of my dreams, a place that really accepts me because of that, not
Wow.
despite it.
Wow.
That's powerful, right?
That's
Because I
powerful.
no longer put it behind me. What's unique in you is the smallest thing, not the biggest thing, the big story.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'd say. Look for the simplicity of things. And it's usually things that are to you seem average or not important. That's usually where the golden nuggets are.
Yeah, this is so powerful. And, like vulnerability can really be our superpower, right? So you've just shared an amazing story on how that can inspire a lot of people. And, you know, when, um, when people think like they don't have a special story, it's the problem is in that question, right? Like in that kind of statement. And it really starts with just appreciating the beauty that you see every day in the mirror, right?
Yeah.
And I love what you say about simplicity. And so what do you say to people that are like, but I'm not a great writer. I'm like I have this place where I'm just staring at a blank sheet and I'm just typing the first paragraph, which takes me 3 hours. Like, how do you actually get really started and warmed up? And you said a beautiful thing about like when you're just yourself, like things start to flow. And I also love the perspective of taking the time. But what do you do with that? I guess it's called writer's block, or what? How do you handle
Yeah.
that?
Well, I say to people, look, I want to say something that's probably counterintuitive is that books aren't words. And people are like, wait, what? That's all books are. What do you mean they're not words? I said, listen, books are messages that words contain. what's the message is more important than the words. Because I promise you, you have New York Times, Sunday Times best-selling books on your nightstand you haven't finished or read. You purchased them, you set them aside. You put them in your Audible, you didn't finish them, right? But you probably talked about them. Oh yeah, I read that, and you didn't finish it, but you read it. I read it. I'm not, no judgment. I'm just saying sometimes books I get what I need out of the first two chapters or whatever, and I'm okay with that. But it's the message that shifts you, not the words. The words can get in the way of great books. So stop getting so attached to the words, because people are worried that it's good before they even write it. So they're struggling. And it's not your fault. It's not. It's school. It's our fault. Teachers. Because we were training students to be editors, not writers. What I mean by that is you always edited to get the grades you wanted. Teacher said, here's the assignment, write this paper. And you're like, okay, what does it take to pass this class? Because that's who I'm a pass the class kind of guy. Or what does it take to get A plus? Because I'm the valedictorian. Whatever it is, we're editing towards the end, not for ourselves, but for the teacher, the professor, and then even later for the boss. But you're not doing it because you have something to say. You're doing it because it's a task, and you edit towards that. So if you write, delete, write, delete, write, delete, you're an editor. Your editor brain is competing with your creative brain, and they don't work well together at the same time. So part of it is you got to realize, oh, am I editing? If you're deleting things, you're editing. If you throw it away, you're editing. If you're writing, you're writing. You're not judging it. There's creativity has no judgment because you can't be wrong. Creativity does better with uncertainty than it does with certainty. Creativity only comes from a place of the unknown. So if you're trying to know how good it can be, your editor brain is in control. You have to let go of that. If you let go of it being right or wrong, if you let go of the other people's expectation, you have no control over what they think of your book. That's not for you. That's them. So writing has to do with getting in the mindset of like, oh my gosh, I've been editing this whole time. If you turn off editing brain, you write without judgment, all of a sudden the writing starts to come. Sometimes I'll sit to write and I'll write, this is the worst book idea I've ever had. In fact, I don't know why I'm writing it. I should stop. Well, I shouldn't stop. I wonder what I had for lunch. Like I write what comes out. And then I sit and I look, that's hilarious. And then the real words come out. Stop judging what you're writing. Stop deleting what you're writing. That's an editor brain. If you're not a good writer, it means probably you're not a good editor, or you didn't get A's in grammar class or whatever, English class. The best writers aren't necessarily the good at English or good at the language they're directed in. That's not what makes you a great writer. A writer's job is to soul search for the message that shifts them so that it can help others. So if you're struggling with writing, ask yourself, am I editing out myself before I start? And then just show up on the page and see what comes. Stop judging yourself for it being good.
Stop
That's
judging
the
yourself. That is so powerful. Hey, Azul, who do you feel should write a book?
my truth is I think everyone should, because I've watched it shift and change so many people's lives, that the person's life whose job to change the most is you, not the reader first, you first. If you're constantly writing for the reader, you're writing in the beginning for the wrong reasons. You edit for the reader. You write for you. You want the reader to get your message. You want to solve their problems. You want to figure out what their objections are. You want to really deliver to them a promise. But that's an editing task to say, okay, how can I make this better for the reader? Right? Your job is to say, what do I have to say? And why do I care? What's my unique perspective? Why does this matter? Why am I seeing this and maybe no one else is? You're not trying to be original. You're trying to be unique, different. Original means something no one's ever heard of. You don't want to write something no one's ever heard of, because that means they're not going to understand what you're saying. It's really difficult. You want to find the simplicity in your message that's so simple that they can't misunderstand it, right? I tell people great book ideas aren't big, they're small. Atomic Habits, you could read a paragraph and get the whole book. You don't need that whole book. James Clear did really well, but the truth is, break those habits into smaller things and let your habits become your behaviors, Bob. That's it. That's all the whole book is. It's a
Yeah.
simple message. You can carry your finger. I got it. Right? The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield is writing creates resistance. Know that there's resistance, period. And keep going anyways. That's the whole book. It's an idea. I picked it up. I can carry it around. I don't
Yeah.
need to quote page 12, paragraph 6. I didn't even know what's on the 3rd chapter of Atomic Habits. In fact, those New York Times bestselling books are Sunday Times sitting on your bedside. The only thing that matters is the message resonates, that we can talk about it. because the message is more powerful than the words that made you understand it. I help this a lot with TEDx speakers, and they come like, "How did you get your talk to go viral?" I go, "I didn't get it to go viral. That's not my job. My job is to do what TEDx purpose is, which is create an idea worth sharing, share an idea worth spreading." And it's usually something that's obvious that no one else is paying attention to, but you noticed. It's smaller than you think. It's not a big idea. It's a small idea. So stop trying to look for big ideas. Find the smallest one that resonates. You're just like, that's interesting. Like me, by the very fact telling you stop, you were trained to be an editor, not a writer. You guys are going, what? Oh my gosh. How did I not know? It's not because it wasn't right in front of you. It's because I shined a light on it in a new way. And everyone goes, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's what makes an idea worth spreading, a book worth talking about.
And this is this is so priceless, and I hope this shows you all like we are now talking to an amazing book coach, right? And because of some of the golden nuggets that you're now getting, you can shortcut, your journey like so much, right? Like you would not have to go through all the pain and struggle of like making that mistake as staring at an empty screen and all of that. And later we will be sharing. Azul has an amazing freebie today for all of you, so we'll be sharing that in a moment. But Azul, I also would love to, because what I take away from this session myself, which is actually it's amazing, and it gives so much freedom, is and flow actually is that you can just be yourself, and you can start with a small message, and it doesn't have to be this grander and this huge thing, and that we don't have to obsess so much about the reader and the sort of the ideal client, because this was my perception prior to this conversation. um, I'm helping my clients to, find their niche and all that, right? Like look at, okay, who do you serve? What is the problem that you solve? But here you're basically saying like, be yourself and don't overly obsess about who that reader is, that ideal client for that book is, and just focus on you and your message. Are we hearing that correctly, or
Yeah.
have I missed the point?
I think you do need to think about that, but people start the reverse order. They think about that first and then themselves later,
Yeah,
sometime down the line. And what you miss is that you miss the opportunity for yourself. Maybe you built a business that way, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to love your business, you probably should start with you. What do I
yeah,
love about it?
yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Um, I used to have a business that was just Coach Azul, I coach anybody, and I realized I find an extrinsic value of helping leaders. So that's who I want to message to. It's for me first. I want to help people who believe that they're put on this planet to lead other people into great things, change the planet. I can't do it by myself. So my job is to help amazing people like you all help the people they serve. I will never be able to help that community. Only you will. That's your focus. So even my brand was built because of selfishly, I want to work with people who say, I'm not doing this because I want to make $1 million. I'm not doing this because I want to be, sorry if this offends you, be a Lambro, show off my riches and my awards and the number of commas after my bank account. There's nothing wrong with those things on their own. But what I want is I want to inspire leaders to change the world. So I crafted my brand for me first, and then now I focus on, well, what do leaders need? So I changed it. So it's the same with the book. What do you need first? What's your need and desire? People tell me, I really want to write this book if it will help one person. I go, you know what? That's noble. But if you want to help one person by writing a book, walk across the street, knock on the neighbor's door and go, how can I help you? Because that's easier than writing a book and publishing it, marketing it, and sustaining it. If you think that you want to help one person, then let the one person be you. Because you can't help somebody else transform if you're not sure what's happening. If you can't see it yourself or find something new, some new idea. Like me talking to you about all these things reminds me, oh yeah, I need to remember that. I wish I could say no, because I'm so good at it. It's not true. It's just what I found to be true from working with so many people over the years and observing myself is that this is more important. What I desire actually shouldn't be second, it should be first. And then I can help serve the people I care about because you'll start to attract people based on who you think you can help versus who you want to help. So know who you want to attract and message that way because it's what you care about. And then you can work on your message because we do ideal reader and avatar exercises for books too because they need to be oriented towards somebody because they need to go, oh my gosh, how does he know my problem? He's like in my head, right? If that feels like it's happening to you, it's because that's my job. But that comes after I decided what I want. I want to change the world through people's messages. So now I can find out, well, what kind of people, what kind of messages, who do I want to serve? And then now I can message to it, but that's later.
Yeah.
I hope that answered your question, Danny.
Yeah, fantastic. So we have a question from Patsy. She asked, like, I was told to write a book and then become a speaker. Like, what's your take on that? Is that like kind of the right sequence? And please keep the
Look,
questions coming for everybody
yeah,
to.
please. This is a great question because I didn't intend to become a speaker. It just happened. I wrote a book that had nothing to do with education, which was part of my thing. Like, ooh, I'm writing a book about if you want to change your life and make a living doing what you love, you got to not go back to school, which in my field as a teacher and professor was a bad idea, perhaps, but it's what I really believed. I was like, maybe I'm in the wrong place. Um, I don't know that there's a chicken and an egg here. What it makes it infinitely easier if you have authority, because if they don't know who you are, then your message has to be so clear of who you are. Like that's why you can start marketing your book and people can start to know who you are and go, hey, I think I'd like you to come talk at my people before your book's written. I think it's about clarity first. Like, who are you? Why am I unique? That's probably more important than the book or the message or the speaking. Like, you have to have a position, and you do. You have one. You have a belief and values that are there. Don't move away from them, move towards them. And when you do that, those things will come as they should. So I don't think there's a right way. Um, I didn't have even a website for the first 2 years of my business. I didn't know that wasn't good. I didn't know better. People just kept showing up. I'm like, okay, this works, I guess. Um, so I'd be hesitant to say there's one way better than other. I just know that I looked at the data. More of the TEDx speakers are authors or neuroscientists. Those are the top two fields. So I was like, that's interesting. So it helps leverage me. What it tells the person who's choosing you is not that I didn't talk about my topic of my book on the stage. I wasn't trying to do that. I I wanted to use the leverage of being an author as a way to get my foot in the door to lots of places, and it has. But speaking can do the same thing the other direction. So I'm very hard pressed to say there's one better than the other.
Yeah, love it. Thank you for that answer. So we're nearing the end of the conversation. Just a couple of questions when it comes to more the selfish side of, growing a business, right? Like,
Yeah,
so what does writing a book do for me as a personal brand and
yeah,
for business? Like, what can it do for me?
yeah. You know what? Because books have been around for centuries, right? Millennia. We You could ask a first grader, you know what a book is? They're like, 99-year-old, and it's any small island, anywhere in the world, we know what a book is. And if you say I'm an author, they're like, oh, immediate authority, immediate belief, immediate value. It doesn't matter where in the world. In fact, other places in the world, it's even more valuable. It feels like in America, everyone's writing books. Like, oh my gosh, they're everywhere. I can't, but it's not true. But it feels like that. Um, so if you get clear and you message about who you are and don't just write stuff, right? Don't just, like I said, we're drowning in information. We don't need more experts. This is the fallacy. People think, well, I'm not an expert in this. No, but you have a perspective, don't you? We don't want more experts or gurus. If that offends you, I don't know how. I'm trying to find the words to say. The person sitting in the cave way over there that you're going to go find someday, and they're sharing messages to you. We're looking for guides, not gurus. Meaning, hey, I'm going this way, and I noticed you went to. What should I do to follow you? You don't want to get there and go, oh, the path to enlightenment is way back there. You missed it. Oh, dang it. You want someone to say, hey, look, I stepped in a pile of dog do. Go around, go around, go around. I just did it. You want a guide who can help you, not a guru who could talk at you. The case in point, at the end of a college semester, those books are written by the smartest people on the planet. They research, but at the end of a semester, we don't go to the dumpster and look for the textbooks that kids throw away at the end of this college. Those are experts. The writing's flawless. We don't go there. We don't need experts. We don't need even information. We're drowning in information. We need someone to trust, someone that can show us, someone we see the way they see the world. We go, oh, now I get it. Right. So I think that's the biggest thing we misunderstand is that you can really orient yourself around who you are more than you think. Give yourself permission. Let me give one case example, and then I'll let you turn back to you, Danny. Ali Abdaal, who is a YouTuber or talks about productivity, he's in the UK, came to me about 3 years ago and said, I want to write a book. My agent is one, it has a book deal already. I just on an idea. He was 26 years old. He had 1.5 million subscribers in YouTube. That's a pretty big following, right? And he had been a doctor at Cambridge, number one in his class, that I became a doctor and became a YouTuber during that process. And 3 years before, no one knew who he was. He had 0 followers. He's like, why is anyone going to listen to me about productivity? Like, I'm not James Clear. I'm like, you're not. So please don't try to be. Why? And we found why he was productive. Let's talk about why you believe you're productive, not what anyone else thinks. What do you believe? He's like, well, honestly, I have fun. I was like, perfect. Let's talk about that. He's like, well, my publisher, I kind of showed that my idea to my publisher, like, no, that's not good enough. I go, don't listen to your publisher. You listen to you. It's important. Your voice is more important than what they think is important because your audience is going to figure this out. Will he grow? He kept talking. He's like 7 or 5 million subscribers now. That book, Feel Good Productivity, became a New York Times and Sunday Times bestseller, not because it's what the publisher thought should be. It's because we stayed true to him and his audience like that. They want that. They want a different perspective. They want to believe the process matters more than the end. Mhm. You got to trust that inner voice. He had all this imposter syndrome. No one's going to listen to a 26-year-old kid who knows nothing about productivity. I was like, that's interesting. That's you too. You all have something like that. He's not magical. He just shows up every day.
Fantastic. Should I use AI when I write my book?
Please don't, unless you're using it as an assistant. Would you have your assistant write your book?
No.
You might have my assistant help me organize, might go get research and data. Hey, I need to know the what millennials deal with the most, and can you give me 6 places to find resources and articles? Or you might say, hey, can you help me take this and reorganize this into a better outline? Can you tell me what's the best structure for nonfiction? Use it as your assistant, and you wouldn't have your assistant do your webinar on your behalf. You wouldn't have them write your book on your behalf, would you? Don't have chat. That's all they are, is an assistant, a really smart assistant with a lot of access. Treat it as such. And it's a great tool. I use it all the time for helping me improve, but don't let it write your book, because I wouldn't let somebody else write it for me if I could
What
do it
about
myself.
structuring your story though? So, and I partly teach about AI, and I absolutely agree with you in terms of, like, especially the creative process, right? Like
Mhm.
we have to do some thinking, right? Otherwise, yeah, what is our role as humans, right? But
Yeah,
what
right.
I've found to be very powerful is just like, and in my head, like nothing makes sense. It's like an explosion of, different kind of things. And then it's like, okay, I feed it in, I feed it a lot of my stories. And can I would it be productive to have a certain structure where it's like, okay, I dump everything, I write my book using voice notes and then let it structure and that come that together? Or is that like problematic from an IP point of
Yeah.
view, or like this sort of, yeah.
I don't know that it is quite yet, but I have a feeling it will be a challenge for Amazon. I mentioned Amazon, whether you love or like it or not. It's 70% of all books sold online or in the world are sold on Amazon. So you have to play if you want to be seen.
Yeah.
And I think they will make strong decisions. They have a strong enough AI in their own side,
Yeah.
scouring manuscripts to know whether or not they're. Eventually, it's going to be so saturated that it's going to be easy to detect. What I say is use it to help you or get organized.
Yeah.
Use it to help you say, hey, in the last decade, the books in this genre, what are they? Okay, great.
Yeah.
What common themes are there? How do you structure best a nonfiction book that talks about finances? And what are some options for that? You use it as a thinking partner. Don't use it as your voice, because your voice is the only thing you need to you, and you want to use it. It's okay that you can't spell it. Remember, you're not an editor first. You can edit later. You can hire editors whose job is to bring out more of your voice, not to make it more of the same, but make it more of you. And I coach creativity outside of writing too. And I have actors who go to auditions. Everyone in that room looks like you. Same height, size, hair color, about the same resume, number of movies, TV commercials. When they show up, the agents, the casting directors, they don't know what they're looking for. they kind of got a sense of what they're looking for, but you all look the same, and you might be equally talented. They're looking for you. They just don't know how to tell you that. The same thing goes for writing. If it starts to sound like somebody else, they're going to move on. There's just something about it, just not quite right. Um, that's true for books. You want your voice in there. So I always encourage people to let it be your thinking partner, organize. I think what you're looking for is a system. And that's what I do. I help people move out of the traditional system and write so that they can be themselves without worrying that they'll mess it up when they get to the end. Like, what if I just write a bunch of crap and then I don't know what to do with it? That's their biggest fear. So I'm like, so don't do that. Get an organized path to be messy along the way, but still be in control of the mess, right?
Yeah.
Creativity is sort of organized chaos, and you kind of need that for a while before you're certain. Don't let AI tell you this is the good book, because they don't know either, any more than an agent and publisher knows what a good book is. So just be cautious. Use it as a partner as opposed to
Yeah.
can you write this for me?
That's powerful. I also see some concerns coming up from like a lot of people that I have in mind right now who are saying like, and I had that personal experience. Like my father wrote a book 15 years ago, and he's an incredibly visionary man. But like his style of writing is like his style. Like it doesn't like, so I guess the question is like, is hiring an editor, or like how do we deal if we are not naturally gifted with writing, and what is a solution for that that is economic as well?
Yeah, most of it is your belief about I'm not a good writer more
Oh,
than it's true. Because I've had 12-year-olds publish novels. They don't have more skill than you for sure. They were very creative. But what it is people think that writing's a solo sport because of school. I write by myself and I turn it into the basket. That's not how writing works in the publishing or book world. It's a team of people helping you. Maybe you have a coach, you have a developmental editor, then you have a copy editor, you have a line editor, you have proofreaders. Their all job is to make you look better on the page for the message to get more connected to the reader. So it's a team sport. So stop trying to do it by yourself. That's probably the biggest problem is you think that somehow you're magically supposed to know how to do this. How? How are you supposed to? I think give yourself a little freedom, join a community, be a part of a workshop where you get feedback. It's supposed to be shared early and messy, but most people hide because in school, don't cover your paper, right? So we're trying to undo some of our learned behaviors from the industrialized model of education, which is everyone should produce and look the same. When the bell rings, get up. When the bell rings, sit down. Right? When you write like this. We just don't notice that we were factorized into this belief about how we're supposed to do things.
man, I mean, we could go on for hours. I thoroughly enjoy the conversation, and there's like, there's a lot of additional questions coming up, but I really
Yeah.
want to value and respect your time. You have been absolutely incredible. Can you share a little bit about the free gift that you have, and how
Yeah.
people can follow you?
Yeah. So always you can find me, you can listen to my podcast on Authors Who Lead is my podcast. It's the name of my website too. You can follow me on social as Azul Terronez because it's me behind there. Authors Who Lead does put out content as well. But the freebie is people struggle with, I don't know what to do with marketing. They get overwhelmed. So I created a guide that has 365 days of 2024. What should I market today? And it has suggestions for every single day, including holidays that show up like, oh my gosh, I forgot that it was Lunar New Year. Or, hey, did you know it's National Donut Day? Or, hey, today share 3 lessons you learned from the process. So it gives you 365 days. And then there's bonuses where it gives you hooks for viral videos, ideas, or calls to action when you post something like, I don't know what to say. I keep figuring, what do I say? Do I need them to comment? You should know. Oh, this is for commenting. This is for engagement. This is for taking an action, and I give you break them down all those categories. So there's that. So it's a complete guide. I usually give it to my people in my book marketing program, but I'm gonna give it all to you for free.
That's phenomenal. I will be sharing the link with everybody that got access to the replay and that is here live. Thank you
Great.
so much, Azul Terronez. Everybody like follow this gentleman, because we could just see like how what an experience he has. And if there's one thing that like just stands out from a conversation like this, is everyone needs a coach, right? If you want to write a book, like get a book coach, right? Like if you wanna like do a TED talk, like get a you know a TED coach. So it's really important for us to yeah, like you said it, like stop doing it by yourself. I really want to underline that also for myself as a reminder. And thank you for spending your time graciously with us.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Take care, brother. Thank you.